Hello there, welcome to a Second Thoughts overview of Throgg of Norsca. I played through the initial turns and got a real feel for the faction, how it plays out. Let's go through my conclusions and in the end I'll show you some army compositions that I would try out. As always, this is a basic guide for you to get started, but not really an in-depth guide. Let's play then with Throgg of Norsca. For your short victory conditions, we need to destroy the factions of Krakadrak, the Ropsman clan, the Ice Court, and the Great Orthodoxy. Basically, you're required to go over to Kislev. You also need to occupy Loot-Razor Sec, 35 different settlements. Now the reward is Winds of Magic Power Reserve plus 30 for all of your armies. It's a nice addition to ensure your casters always have something to work with, of course. Now this, compared to the Wulfric campaign, is a little bit more streamlined, so you'll have to go towards that specific location while Wulfric can just, do whatever he wishes. Now, in terms of the long victory, you need to achieve the short victory conditions to occupy Loot-Razor Sack 80 different settlements and to attain level 3 allegiance with any of the gods. Afterwards, as soon as you do this, you'll have the challengers sent against you, so you'll have to defeat all of the challengers. Now this is a moderate to long condition. You may wish to delay the level 3 just so that you can get a few more buffs like from level 2s of the other ones, so yeah, it may take you some time before, this whole allegiance of the gods is blocked forever. Now the reward for this is plus 10 Lord Recruit rank. It will certainly ensure that your armies are always led by competent leaders. That's about it. Now Throgg is the Lord of the Monstrous Horde. He enjoys minus 30% upkeep for Norscan trolls and Norscan ice troll units and physical resistance for those same units. So pretty straightforward, nothing to see here. That's what he does. He likes trolls. In terms of climates, it's one of the best, as you can really see here. Let me show you this menu, which I'd love to see. It's all green and all yellow. It's the yellow. It's very short. It's just some of the sand here, so you can nearly get everywhere without any penalties. It's one of the best to dominate the whole map with. I'm not even going to put you the climate restrictions because that's it. They'll be fine anywhere that you send them. So your starting province is a 4-settlement province, which is great to ensure you have a solid base to recruit everyone from. You have some ports and some specific resources nearby that do provide some welcoming bonuses overall. I'll show you later on. Now, typical expansion is to go, of course, towards these dwarfs around the mountains and then fall down and south into Kislev, of course. Nothing's stopping you from, taking advantage of the Confederation mechanic and just go and try to get all of Norsca before. It's up to you. Going north is also possible, although it will just delay your short and long victory objectives for a while. It's up to you, really, of course. Nothing to prevent you from doing that, You do have the sea available, so be on the lookout for any goodies that you may have on the sea, so that you can benefit from those to keep expanding and get some nice extra income, for instance. So in terms of diplomacy, you're part of Chaos. Typical enemies will be anyone from the Order factions, even your own Norscan allies, of course. Norscan brethren, that's what I meant. And of course, anyone from Order neutral or even evil side will be your enemies. The Dark Elves, for instance, will be your enemies. The Wood Elves, Skaven will most likely be neutral, but that's about it. Thus, for allies, that's what you can get. Maybe some Skaven, maybe some Ogres later on, some Chaos factions. So, Skaven and Warriors should give you some nice units, so try to get some army compositions with them. A note on the outposts, I really don't know how they work with the Warriors of Chaos. Let me know in the comments below if you know. But still, that's the sort of units that I would get from them, as you have pretty much everything else in retrospect. So, let's talk about mechanics. The Confederation mechanic, very simple. All that I need to do is pick up Throgg and find and fight Surtha Ek, defeat him in combat, and his whole faction will offer to Confederates, similar as the Green Ski. units. Okay. Now, in terms of the allegiance of the gods, what you do is very simple. Once you raise a settlement, you can raise it towards one specific god, and you'll gain favor in that. As you prolong the favor, you'll get up to level 3 with the buffs that you see here. But that's not all. When you raise a settlement towards one, the other ones don't like you. So you'll get 6 points towards, let's say, the serpent, but you'll get -2 towards the hound or the eagle or the crow. You see the idea? You always have to balance those out once you raise the settlements. It's all about raising settlements. Still, once it reaches level 3, it locks, which means that you may wish to, advance some to level 2 if you can, before actually jumping up to level 3. Notice the income from ports in every single one. See the idea? If you can get level 2 with each one of these and then jump to level 3, that's an insane amount of income from ports. Like insane! I cannot explain to you how rich this faction is. It's filthy rich. That's how it can get, okay? So be mindful of that and try to maximize that, okay? Now, another one is the Monstrous Arcanum. You'll get them by unlocking some technologies. And all it is, it's a mission that you go, you'll fight a battle, and then you can gain a specific unit or an item, which is always rather unique, and I just wish they would add more. Honestly, if they would have 30 pages for this, I would love it. I would really love it. More units, more of these encounters. It's just so cool. I really love that. Now, you do lack any kind of walls, by the way. Any kind of walls. So, it may be an issue for prolonged multi-pronged wars. Be careful. Like stated, of course, ports. Not only they give income, they also give growth and casual replenishment rate. Need I say more? Just get all the ports in the world and you'll be unstoppable, trust me. In terms of province edicts, you have Chaos and Divided Corruption, have campaign movement range reduction for enemies and less attrition when under siege. This is minor, let's say, but don't neglect the campaign movement range. Sometimes that's what can save you. It also has recruitment cost and local recruitment capacity, and the basic one that I would use, the growth and minus construction costs for all buildings. Pretty awesome. Now you also have the army stances to consider, and these are very clever, very interesting. So raiding camp only needs 25% movement points, and it reduces upkeep in -20%. It also increases casualty replenishment rate and allows recruitment, of course, with global recruitment replenishment and access to the global recruitment pool. Now the raiding also requires no movement points and gives you -30% upkeep. So it also combines the channeling fat, so more winds of magic. It's great. The only difference between this and this one is that this one allows you to replenish, while this one doesn't. Okay, but be mindful of all of those slight changes, and you'll be able to get benefit not only from the raiding income, but also from the reduced upkeep. That's why you enter the raiding. That's why you enter raiding camp, to have reduced upkeep. Now, you also have ambush, of course, like always, the 25% typical movement point cost, and forced march. Nothing to see here, really. Now, the province of Mountains of Hell has nearly no special buildings, other than some research stuff. These do imply faction-wide bonuses, such as recruitment cost reduction for marauder units, so be mindful of that. Pay attention to this. You require 6 military buildings for full military, 2 of which can be built in minor settlements. It's decent. It's not really that good, that bad, but yeah, this is, I would say, excellent. Actually, it's more than decent. It's good. It's good, actually. Now, tier 3 units, they're very good. You already have your elite infantry with the Marauder champions, which were buffed. You know, some skirmishing cavalry, which they're always nice. You also have access to your skin wolves for anti-large with frenzy, regen, and you also have your Norscan ice trolls and Norscan trolls. Specifically with Throgg, these are really good. So, you know, consider that tier 3 units are nothing to shy about. Now, in terms of infrastructure, let's talk about the basic ones. So you have a control, Lord Recruit rank, the faction wide, which is always nice, and you also have chaos corruption, and the hero recruitment for your caster heroes. So this is really cool. Just you know, a good overall building to have. You also have the growth and income from post-battle loot, which is for all armies in adjacent regions. This can really scale off really well. So you know, if you have a region that and you're fighting around it, just pop this one up. You'll see the income grow just by fighting. And then you have a basic income generated building, of course, nothing too shabby. You also have a kind of infrastructure here with the offerings of war. Casualty replenishment rate, some unit experience gained for a turn, and recruit rank. Always nice to have in your military producing provinces, so yeah, that's cool. Ports are also super important because they provide ton of income, growth, replenishment, bam! 3 of the most important things for any settlement right there. And you can increase this with all the allegiance of the gods. So it's crazy. I don't know how they allow this to go through planning. So let's talk about research, shall we? Research, it does allow you a lot of upgrades for your units, even the early game units and also the later game units, and then it has some interesting ones. So it will unlock the monster hunts here, okay? And now you have crazy good buffs when you occupy a specific... you have crazy good buffs against specific factions. Be mindful of these. These are really cool. If you're going to fight dwarves, just get this one, you know, Ravaging of the Dwarves. And then if you occupy Karazak, look at that. You have income from all buildings. All buildings include sports. You see where I'm going with that. I know I'm always talking about that. So, research rate minus upkeep and global recruitment capacity. So occupying specific ones, specific settlements may be your go-to idea. You know, you may think, oh, I really want to get, I don't know, I really want to have more post-battle loot and become immune to climate, sea corruption, and storm attrition in all armies, you know, and just have more winds of magic because I like using it. I'll just go and try to occupy Black Crag. Or maybe I want to go straight up to Kislev to have more unit mass, you know, and less attrition casualties from all attrition, you know, that sort of idea. Just be sure that you try out and that you ensure that you get, you know, that you study a little bit of this so that you can plan out who to conquer first. As always, you have your Lord specific skills. You have your yellow line or combat specific ones, red line or army, and blue line or campaign skills. Starting with the blue line, you actually have 2 skills that are crazy good. Casualty replenishment rate for 5%, and then another one which is unnatural healing for 4%. And these ones only cost 1 skill point. It's really cool. You gain a lot from the blue line as well. You can get more income from sacking settlements and more less recruitment costs. The income from sacking settlements, can you imagine you're already gaining a lot of income and suddenly you have that one? You know, and as well as reduced upkeep, which is really cool. So yeah, all the time you can just go for these casual replenishment rate ones and it's fine. Now, in terms of the red line, they're pretty average. They may prove yet a little bit of expensive, but the good thing is that typically your lords won't need too much in terms of yellow line or specific ones, so that's cool. Now, there's some great combinations, and you do benefit from being the blue line being somewhat less expensive, you know, so yeah, that's cool. Now, your heroes are also really cool. Let me show you. In essence, you do have a great melee hero. You send this guy against anyone, especially when upgraded, he'll tear everyone apart, really tear everyone apart. Then you have the Femir Bale Fiends, either of Shadows or Fire, 2 of the most damage-dealing lords of magic, and they're good in combat as well, and they replenish troops. What else do you need? You also have the Shaman Sorcerers of Fire, Death, and Metal, so you have some good combinations should you wish to use combinations of Lords of Magic by no means. And yeah, it's definitely a good one. Norsca has kind of every tool they need to replenish fast, as you can see. And they also have a lot of income, they also benefit from a lot of climate. The only thing that I would take away is their reduced roster, so more units please, yay, more units. So here we have all the red line skills for Norsca. Some interesting notes concerning the trolls and the skin wolves because they are anti-infantry and anti-large. And they're also monsters infantry and single entities all in one place here. You know, all your infantry here, so you can benefit from, you know, buffing up your early game units, and you still will get the Marauder champion units, you know, without spending too much skill points for all of those units, you know. Now, Throgg actually grants all those bonuses for trolls and skin wolves and also frost worms, as you can see here. So by all means, just a combination, typical combination there. I just added some Marauder horsemen to have some maybe some anti-large missiles, or just destroying some other flyers or a giant or something like that, you know, or even just peppering down and skirmishing an artillery unit, something like that, you know. Throgg, he also gives them regeneration, so be mindful of that. He gives regeneration to these to the female units, which is great because then you can get, you know, a monstrous army, really good. And notice how cheap it is in terms of red line skills. Now, this one is more of a combination between flyers and other monsters, so yeah, but by all means, they're rather cheap, so you can try all of these. I think I would go, you know, for just the basic, let's get some femurs here, but it's up to you guys, of course. In terms of secondary armies, nothing wrong with going back to the typical Norscan armies. Some infantry units, some monstrous units, some single entities, these were all doing fine. This is more of a rush army, basically. This does have some missiles here. This one also has some missiles here, but note how it scales up. The more you try to add some missile units, the more red line skills you may need if you wish to have, you know, a little bit of everything in the army. Okay. Then, of course, we do have some interesting combinations, especially with the Throgg with his buffs to trolls. Of course, always be mindful that they will be really strong. So this is the sort of combinations that I would try. Some with just monstrous infantry, some missile units. Some with just monstrous infantry and single entities. Some with just infantry-based units. Just some chariots. Maybe this is a good. Notice that how all of these are tier 3, so these are kind of like sweeper armies. Then maybe you can add just some frostworms for some more oomph, some more strength. It's up to you. Notice again how they are cheap if you're resourceful. If you know that you can benefit from, you can accomplish a lot with just these armies, then go for it for sure. So, a great sandbox experience, especially because of the climate. Just go anywhere you wish. I would focus more on the ports, so probably going further into areas with ports would be great, of course, but it's your choice, of course. Now, the mechanics only have the one downside that they will end. They'll eventually end up, you'll eventually level up to level 3, and that's it, and this mechanic stops having anything else. It still gives you the buffs, but I wish you could continue or have something else to do. It's one of the same thing actually happens with the monsters. At one point you'll run out of the monsters hunts, so yeah, that's sad. It's still one of the richest factions in the game, for sure, especially once you get a lot of ports going and you upgrade them. It's crazy how much they can get to. Capture port after port after port, and you'll benefit from, you know, keep raiding so that you get reduced upkeep. It's crazy. For the army, you have damage-dealing infantry, short-range missiles, average cavalry and chariots, great monstrous infantry, especially on the Throgg, great single entities, lack of artillery and overall range, so you need to rush a little bit, and you have a rather small roster. That's their biggest issue. Now, replenishment is excellent. Between all the buffs and the climate, it's one of the factions that is actually great. They'll recover in no time, so yeah. It has excellent replay value, only based on how sandboxy the experience is, and how you get to decide easily where to go. Throgg is just mainly a faction to play with a lot of trolls, basically, in comparison with Ulfric, and maybe to just concentrate a little bit more in going into the mainland here on Kislev. That's about it. I believe now, then, it's time to follow the Throgg into battle.